My friend, lend me your ears. As the night deepens and the fog over London grows heavy, my thoughts often wander far beyond these shores. Tonight, resting on my desk, is a diary from late 19th century Berlin, left behind by a young elite bureaucrat from the Far East. It is a work titled The Dancing Girl, written by a man named Mori Ōgai. Most literary enthusiasts, they choose to speak of this work as a tragic tale, a young man torn between his duty to his nation and the passion of his heart. Granted, if one follows the plot on the surface, it does indeed appear to be a classic and beautiful tragedy. But, my friend, I ask you to trust in my logic. The truth of this story is hidden in the shadows beneath that narrative. When most people admire a work of literature, they view it through a lens made of raw emotion. They weep for the lovers, they sympathize with the parting. But I dissect the story with a scalpel made of logic. Why? Because the human psyche only reveals its true form once you have stripped away the garments of sentimentality. The protagonist of this tale, Ota Toyotaro, within the rigid system of the Japanese bureaucracy of that time, he was one of the finest cogs in the machine. Sent to the city of Berlin, a place of freedom and chaos, he appears at a glance to be savoring his liberty. However, if you observe his inner world with care, you will realize the iron-willed cage he had built within his own heart. When he first met Elise, the dancer, many readers see it as the birth of pure love. But pause for a moment and consider this. Did he reach out to Elise because he sought to save her? Or was he merely seeking self-fulfillment by playing the role of a knight? Toyotaro was a man of extreme intellect, yet simultaneously a fragile and dangerous magician of self-justification. He wrote this diary because he reached the twilight of his life and was forced to reconcile with his own past. Or perhaps it was because he needed to seal away his lingering guilt by decorating it with beautiful rhetorical flourishes. What I am about to tell you is not a mere commentary on a literary work. This is a criminal investigation of the mind. An investigation into how a man trapped himself in a cage labeled the ideal self and pursued the question of what he chose and what he cast aside. Now, let us adjust the lens. A freezing winter morning in Berlin, near the old church on Klosterstrasse. The story of Ota Toyotaro begins at the very moment he placed that mask upon his own soul. Now, my friend, let us speak of the stage, Berlin. To Toyotaro, this city was far more than just a place of study. In a Japan bound by rigid social hierarchies, Confucian morals, and the crushing weight of bureaucratic duty, Berlin must have appeared as the only sanctuary where he could finally liberate his ego. But here we must apply a psychological lens. While he bathed in the winds of Berlin, did he truly become free? No, that is not the case. He had merely donned a new mask, that of a man enjoying his freedom in a foreign land. It was then that he met Elise. Seeing her collapsed, weeping on the street, what was truly at work in Toyotaro's heart? He rescued her. But beneath the surface of this act of rescue, there lies a twisted structure. To Toyotaro, Elise did not exist as a person of flesh and blood. She was merely a mirror, a convenient one, to reflect the loneliness he carried within his own heart. Consider this, my friend. The wall of language, the barrier of culture. To build a relationship of total equality, these were insurmountable obstacles. Yet he projected into Elise the pure passion and yearning for art that he had never been able to reveal in his homeland. By doing so, he sought to elevate his loneliness into a sweet, romantic sublimation. To him, love was not about understanding the other. It was a kind of therapy to heal his own worn-out spirit by finding a version of himself within her. We must confront the question, how much of his kindness was compassion and how much was superiority? By guiding Elise as her protector,
he felt a comfort he could never know as a bureaucrat, the comfort of an absolute, dependent other. But such a relationship is built upon a crumbling foundation from the very start. Elise loved him, but was it not Toyotaro who loved only the version of himself that was loved by Elise, while remaining in his own safe, protected place? My friend, do you see this subtle yet vital difference? Many readers mistake the sorrow he displays for pure love, but if we observe with logic, we find his internal starvation and an unconscious desire to control the other swirling beneath the surface. On the stage of Berlin, with Elise as his dancing partner, he played a solo act, the ideal young bureaucrat. Can you not hear it? The sound of that mask exposed to the cold winds of Berlin, slowly, piece by piece, beginning to peel away. While he ran his pen across the paper in his study, the fate of a single woman was being weighed on a scale, the scale of his own narcissism. And yet, the irony is this: he was not even aware that he was the one tipping the scale with his own will.
Now, my friend, let us dissect the very moment this tale spirals into its definitive ruin. The man named Aizawa Kenkichi, who appeared in Toyotaro's life. To dismiss him merely as a cold-hearted friend is far too superficial a view. In my eyes, he appears as a phantom, the physical manifestation of the pragmatism and worldly ambition that lurked deep within Toyotaro himself. You've noticed it too, haven't you? By the time Aizawa arrived in Berlin, the choice to return to Japan was already quietly incubating in Toyotaro's mind. For him, to initiate the abandonment of Elise with his own lips would be to deny his own Bushido and admit to being a coward. That is precisely why, unconsciously, he had been waiting for Aizawa, the spokesperson of cold logic. Aizawa fluently articulated the reality that was far too ugly for Toyotaro to speak himself. What must you accomplish now as an elite of the Japanese nation? Will you let a single woman drag you down and throw away your future? To Toyotaro, Aizawa's words must have been a poison and at the same time, the ultimate soothing liberation. Why? Because by taking the form of being persuaded by Aizawa, Toyotaro could obtain an incredibly convenient pardon. I merely followed the advice of my friend. My will was not weak. I followed the greater cause of friendship. What we must not overlook here is Toyotaro's hidden, true intention reflected in the mirror named Aizawa. Even as he spoke of his love for Elise, in truth, he had never given up on his worldly success in Japanese society. His love with Elise was merely a temporary rest in his career or an exquisite spice to color his life in Berlin. The night Aizawa's persuasion ended and Toyotaro agreed to return. When he visited Elise, his heart was already prepared, not with words of farewell, but with excuses for his own self-justification. I love you, but the nation, Aizawa, fate. How utterly cruel. He is not simply abandoning Elise. For the sake of his own ambition, he forced her into the role of the inevitable tragic heroine. My friend, let me ask you this. If Aizawa had never existed, could Toyotaro have spent the rest of his life with Elise? No, it would have been impossible. He searched for the villain of fate, the one to steal his life away, found him in the man named Aizawa, and dragged him onto the stage. It was all a perfect calculation to save himself without dirtying his own hands. It was not the city of Berlin that tempted him. He designed the stage for this beautiful tragedy with his very own hands. Now, my friend, let us draw the final curtain. What was there on Toyotaro's back as he left Berlin behind? Elise's madness is the price of love that he discarded to protect his own skin. But the most terrifying thing is that after returning home, he continued to climb the bureaucratic ladder with a perfectly composed face, while carrying that very pain. Many readers may see the depth of their friendship in that final line. A friend like Aizawa Kenkichi is rare to find. But to me, it sounds like a spell, a curse that bound him until his dying day to the accomplice who helped him betray his own heart. He spent his entire life justifying the man who abandoned Elise. This diary, the dancing girl itself, is the completed form of that grand self-defense. Through the pen of an author as brilliant as Ōgai, he succeeded in wrapping his inner cowardice in a veil of beautiful tragedy and sealing it away for eternity. He was protected within the iron armor of what he called national honor. And yet, my friend, let me ask you one final question. Are we, at some point in our own lives, not also searching for an Aizawa, just like Toyotaro? When we lack the courage to make a decision with our own hands, do we not blame others, justify ourselves, and quietly avert our eyes from the life we truly desired? The despair that dwelt in Elise's eyes is by no means a thing of the distant past. It is the cry of the true selves we have abandoned in our daily lives. What Toyotaro left behind in Berlin was not merely Elise. He cast his very own soul, the soul that lacked the courage to love, into the depths of those foggy streets. This diary is not just a specimen left behind by Mori Ōgai. It is a cold, unsparing confession, detailing how a human being can wear a mask and finish a life while pretending not to notice its weight. Now, my friend, my dissection is complete. Are you prepared to read this diary again? Each time you turn a page, you may feel as if you are looking into a mirror. But do not be afraid. The courage to face the Toyotaro lurking within yourself is the very key that he lacked to truly living a life of one's own. Well, my pipe has finally gone cold. Watson, or rather, my friend, that is enough for tonight. When another mystery finds its way to me, we shall meet again.